Hi. Okay, so let us get to the moving episode because I would rather just have this one over and done with. I do not have a lot of love in my heart for this one. It is super overdramatic. It is unnecessary. I just would rather talk about it and get it out of the way. There are things I can snark about, so we're going to get there. But we start out... No, we don't. Hi, if you're new here, my name's Cozy. I like to snark about sister wives here on YouTube. I do like to remind you these videos are for entertainment purposes only. These are not facts. They're just my opinions about public figures sharing their lives on television. So if we're cool, we're cool. All right, let's try again. So we start out fading to black and white, and it is just a montage of Cody's first episode footage. And he's talking about how he likes marriage and meeting all the wives, and interspersed we see Cody just sitting alone crying. I mean, it is literally just footage of Cody crying. And he reminds us the investigation's done. They've turned it over to the district attorney, and now they're going to move. So it's time to tell the little kids. And the way he starts this whole thing is absolutely infuriating. Like, I can't. He says, who likes being a family? Are you serious right now? Like, that is horrible. It basically sounds like, hey, if you're not going to agree to what I'm about to say, you don't want to be a part of our family. And that's awful. I hate that. It does not age well, considering how fractured things have become. But he tells them because of circumstances, they're moving to Las Vegas. And we hear a little bit of cheers of excitement, but it's more like a, whoa, oh my gosh. And then there's a lot of silence and then a lot of asking, what? And Gwen even goes as far to ask, are you crazy? Because these kids are clearly distressed. And so Cody's like, listen, this house has been magical, but the magic is us, not the house. And he's like, we're moving so we can stay a family. And in my opinion, they moved for a paycheck, but that's just my opinion. Isabel's like, but when? And Cody's apologizing, and he's like, I'm sorry for the secrecy, guys, but we're moving in 3 days. And can you even imagine trying to get a family this size packed, ready to go in 3 days? And listen, we know they don't get it all done because only Robin actually needs all of her things packed and out of that house because it's a rental. But the chaos is out of control. These kids are heartbroken. They're distressed. They're just so upset. And Cody just says, listen, son, I'm sorry, son. And I don't know why that makes me sort of angry. It does, though. It's so impersonal. Almost like he doesn't even know who he's talking to. And maybe he doesn't know who he's talking to. Maybe he's just apologizing because he just doesn't know what to say anymore. It could be a blanket sorry. It just doesn't feel like an apology. It feels lacking. So when I watch this back again, I do think that in some ways Cody did want to move. Maybe not the excitement that he was accused of having, but part of him, I think, did want something different. But he tells us that every day that the family stays, they go deeper and deeper into their fear. And he's saying that they don't want to move, but Vegas is the perfect place because the people in Vegas will be more tolerant. And I can't say that there was ever any overt intolerance that we saw in the Vegas years. Like, I don't remember anybody specifically coming out and being like, ah! But he goes on to question the kids about their fears, and the kids are bringing up worries and concerns. And he calls out specific children by name and asks them. And there are a couple of kids that I try to avoid talking about because they've not made themselves very public. They're very private. I try my very best to avoid talking about them overall because I feel like it's just not appropriate. But then you have some that have made themselves into public figures. Maddie, McKelty, Gwen, Peyton, they all have TikToks, YouTubes, Instagram, Patreon. They keep up with the people on the show. And so it feels a little bit better. But some of the kids are super, super private. And I try not to single them out when I can in these recaps. And especially in this episode, I'm going to continue that because I feel like some of them just don't need that. They don't need all those eyeballs on them anymore. So Cody goes on to tell us that he has flipped his kids' world upside down. And now he tells them that they have to keep it a secret. And he says that he's so emotionally messed up, he's having a hard time selling it to them. And sir, this is not a thing to be sold. This is traumatic. This is difficult. He's like, I'm dropping this on the little kids, and then I have to readdress it with the older ones. And you don't. I really think he was hoping that they would just put on a brave face for the little ones, and he's trying so hard to keep himself from being defensive, he says. But during the discussion with the older kids, Cody brings up where we go one, we go all for the first time. That was the very first time I've ever heard him say it. And I get he wants to keep everyone together, but I also can see the point from a teenage perspective, the point that they are making. They're trying to defend the feelings of one sibling and find a solution to a problem that realistically, the option wasn't there to stay. I don't know. I don't know too many families. In fact, I don't think I know any families personally that would leave a minor child behind just to attend a particular school without some very extreme extenuating circumstances. And in this case, there is no benefit for leaving anyone behind, especially when homeschool still could be an option, because it's kind of what they're doing now. The Braun family, is accommodating with homeschool now. And I have to side with Cody on this one. As a mom, teenagers are not adults, especially at that age, and they cannot stay in another state away from family. He's correct in that the list of reasons to stay is valid to a teenager, but to an adult, especially a parent, it's not enough. It's just not. I still think this move was way overblown. I'm going to be honest. I can't deny that parents are tasked with keeping their children safe, though, and cared for until they're able to care for themselves on their own. And if he did anything right in this move, it was reminding the kids that their safety has to be paramount in every one of these processes. His duty is to keep his kids under his roof as minors, and that should come first in this. And as a believer in God, he's correct that parents do eventually have to answer for their parenting one day. So Cody says finding empathy was easy because he's also leaving his friends, his church, his job, his everything. And so that wasn't difficult, but finding patience and grace can be kind of difficult in these moments. And these are situations that require better nuance. And back then, he was definitely able to navigate things a lot better. He was not nearly the aggressive grump that he is today. And I'm watching for this real switch flip moment of when he finally changes and just boom, because it's wild to look back on this move versus the Flagstaff move and see a much more patient and calm Cody. Is he perfect? No. Does he get angry? Sure. But is it different? Absolutely. So Robin's household is getting packed up, and she says her plan of attack is put it in a box. Which at this point, she's not wrong. Listen, her path of least resistance style of packing is probably the best thing for just getting everything done when it comes to all of this. And you know what? I would have also said, tape that drawer closed. Don't worry about it. I would not shove any more Hot Wheels into it, though, because that plastic drawer is about to burst if you're not careful. So knowing they have basically one full day to pack, this is kind of the only way to do it. Get it into a box. At this point, I would be thrilled if everything that was in that box was supposed to be in the same room. And so she's sharing that they're going to be stopping at some point for Dayton's birthday. And I think that's a good thing because, yeah, it's an added stress to take that time out, but losing sight of something important really isn't going to help in this moment. And we've seen how upsetting it is when somebody feels like their birthday is forgotten or that it is forgotten. So they could have planned better. They could have done something earlier, but at least they're acknowledging it. So we're reminded of the homes they'd hoped for had fallen through. But honestly, once again, you were never going to close that quickly on them. I don't understand how they thought they were going to get keys in 7 days. I just don't. I bought a home. That's not how it works. And this house was empty when we bought it. And we still ended up past when we thought we were going to close. Oh my gosh. It's neither here nor there. At any rate, they have no idea where they're going to live. And I am not capable of handling that level of stress. But Robin talks a bit about how angry she was while packing. She admits to being angry at God, and she's like, I believe in miracles. And so I'm looking at him going, you could just make this all go away. 2 points. One, we've heard this from her recently with the issues buying homes in Flagstaff when she was trying to figure out what she was going to do. And I do think there was a lot more to all of that, and we'll get there when we get there, but she's still giving us the same narrative years later, so... And 2, God can't do anything within his will to do. And clearly it was not his will to just take this all away. I think this is a classic example of consequences for your actions and God not just simply handing down things because you ask for them and exist. She says, I pay for those thoughts later because he always humbles me. Remember that. But Robin's struggling to get the tape working, and one of the kids is like, I'm going to miss this house. And I'm not even joking. She looks genuinely confused, almost like, why? This place sucks. That's the look on her face. It's just this look of utter shock and confusion. And she's like, I'll miss it too. And she's like, I feel like we're jumping without a parachute. Probably because you are. You have no plans other than we're just going to leave and cross the state border. That is your entire plan. You've got nothing else. So Cody shows up with the suitcase and he's like, I don't know what to do. And normally I'd be all huffy and be like, pack something. I have to remember though, if I walked into that chaos, I would probably want direction too. Especially if I just came from like Mary's place where she probably has a very planned out, like, this is what we're doing. This is my plan of attack. And actually, I kind of wonder if she was actually able to start earlier than anybody else because the little kids don't live with her and she could just close rooms as she's packing. But I give him a touch, the barest, but a touch nonetheless, of grace because I would have been confused too. So Robin's like, I had just barely emptied out some of these boxes, but a couple months ago. And now I'm repacking all of it. Of course, this is the worst for Robin because this is her 4th move in 2 years. Now, I don't know. I know she lived in Montana and then she moved to Utah to be near family and then she moved closer to the Browns. I guess that would make it 4. All right, fair enough. And I get it being stressful, but these are choices that you've made. I have trouble having a ton of empathy for her, and I might be wrong, but everyone's going through a lot of stress, and this feels really play the victim to me. I'm having a meltdown because I've moved 4 times. No one else is melting down like this. I understand it's stressful, but like, it sucks for everybody, dear. They're all doing it with you. So Cody says the mood's super melancholy, and it's a lot heavier than he ever imagined it would be. What did you imagine? The kids are melting down. They're fighting. Cody's like, listen, with the stress, we cannot turn on each other. We need to be loving and kind to one another. And he's right. In stressful situations, that's what you do. But over at Janelle's, she is not showing a great deal of panic in her packing. Logan seems to be the one maintaining order and efficiency in all of this. And Gabe's like, I'm iffy about whether I want to go. And poor Hunter is adamant that he does not. He has a very colorful way of saying it. And we get shots of rooms just torn apart, boxes everywhere. Christine's packing. She's like, this is crazy. And we get the same couch scene with the teens that we got in the last episode where they're all trying to justify the move. But we expand a little bit as Maddie shares with us, hey, if you have a mistress, everyone's like, good job, man. You're the man. And I will tell you right now, if someone supports someone having an affair, that is someone you do not need in your life. Period. End of story. Cut them out. I'm acquainted with a situation where someone who was thought to be a friend encouraged a man to cheat on his wife, and he ended up going through with it. And the encourager was cut out of that man's life once he realized the mistake that he had made and how devastating this absolutely was. And now that individual who encouraged him is apologetic, they're sorrowful, and listen, I know the man bears all of the blame for his own actions. But the encourager does bear some responsibility for theirs too. And so I get super heated about the idea that anyone would be like, attaboy for an affair. So when Maddie says that, like, it just, boom. I was like, nope. No one should be saying that. Ever. So that's my soapbox about that. But Maddie goes on to say that when a guy decides to take care of his women and his children, that it's illegal. It is. Sorry. But interestingly, I just read where Ben Brown, allegedly, that's Cody's nephew, said that bringing Robin in was basically Cody bringing in his mistress and expecting everybody to be okay with it. I don't remember where I read the article, but I guess he started reviewing the show. Huge yikes. But Mary's clearing out a closet and she finds 26 copies of her sister's obituary, and that is a lot of copies to keep. And Mary's like, I have no idea what I intended to do with these. I don't know why I have so many, but now we're going to use them for packing. And Janelle's like, hey, maybe it was Teresa's way of saying that she's with you. And Mary's crying and she's like, she would have been the first person I would have called. She would have been the first person to come and help us pack. Like, she'd have been there for us. So Cody has Janelle on the phone after a commercial break, and he is explaining that they have a place to go for a month as they search out their next steps. Mona has found this big house with a big yard, he describes it. It's a vacation rental, and it is not available until Tuesday. So they need to delay leaving by a day. And Janelle is not happy about that. She wants to just get on the road and get going. She does not want to delay. And Cody's like, the sheriff drove by today and that's not helping. And he's like, he's always idolized the police as these good guys, and now he's freaked out. And he tells us he thinks it's probably paranoia. Christine relays a story where the girls were walking to a gas station and texted to be like, oh, the sheriff was driving by. And she is adamant that's why we're leaving. Now listen, I am not in the all cops are bad camp. That's not me. I also do not unilaterally back the blue. That is also not me. I don't believe in making sweeping judgments about groups of people based off of, I know before that I said, polygamy is illegal. I said this is my last one, based off of blah, 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 blah. That's true. That is why it is illegal. But I don't believe in making these sweeping judgments on groups of people. I think that just creates division and all sorts of stuff. But this is over the top. Cops drive down roads. Your neighbor could have called them for something completely unrelated. They may have stopped in on somebody that they know to do a wellness check. Or they could just be that they happen to drive down a road not even knowing where you live. It's possible. But to put this level of stress and paranoia onto your children so that they break down at the sight of a police car, that's unhealthy and unacceptable. Someday, they could potentially need help, and they're going to be too terrified to ask for it or even receive it. You're not being targeted for some sort of immutable characteristic. You broke the law, and now you're panicked about the consequences. It is not a justifiable reason to terrify your children. It's just not. And Cody explains that he's explaining again about this rental that they're going to, and that they're going to be able to find homes for everyone, and they will get the kids started at school while they're in the rental. But that's a little bit of an odd process to start, because once again, I talked about this last time, school districts exist, and this is not a permanent address. So are you going to be getting the kids enrolled with like a little bit of deception on your part? Like, I don't understand, because you're going to enroll them based on an address that isn't yours. Now listen, I believe that kids should be able to go and get the education from the school that they want to get the education from. I think kids deserve the absolute best education possible, and that's just how I feel. And for me, we have a lot of schools around us that open enroll. So going to a school out of district to afford opportunities to kids that they frankly deserve, go for it. All kids deserve all of that. We have schools that focus a little bit more on vocational programs. We have schools that focus a little bit more here or there or wherever. And kids should be able to get the education that they need to succeed. But that's not really how things work in a real world. It's very idealistic to think that. And so I have my kids enrolled in our local school district because I believe they're getting a level of education that is quality. And there's a district nearby that like everybody tries to open enroll their kids to. And I don't get it, because this school isn't necessarily any better than any of the schools around us. There's nothing special about it. Truly, nothing special about it. And honestly, I think it's this weird cult of personality, because one of the local churches, the pastor's kids go there, went there, some of them have graduated. And so like, it's almost like everyone who's anyone has to send their kids or something. But I'm not anyone, so I don't. I don't worry about that. And so Cody says that he hasn't talked to all the wives yet and begins listing off 3 of the 4 wives that he has spoken to being good with it. Mary is the only one. She is the odd man out. And Robin does admit to being nervous, and Cody equates that, oh, it's just because she's sharing a kitchen with the other women. It's a kitchen. For the love of heaven, it's a kitchen. We are not asking wives to share beds. It's a kitchen. But I am Team Janelle. Dishes in the morning are a lot easier for our family right now than dishes at night. So, I'm sure when school starts, that is no longer going to be the case. But I'm just saying it works for us in this time. So we watch watch Cody pay off Dayton $20 to give him a hug. Now, I want you to raise your hand. Would you hug Cody Brown for $20? I'd consider it. $20 is $20. Just saying. But this is also where Robin tells Dayton that he can use his own money to buy a dresser, which, no. You're the adult, you're the parent, you supply the furniture. I'm sorry, that's parent responsibility, not child responsibility. I would never ask my children to buy their own dresser. Up to a certain point, you buy the furniture. Anything past that point, sure. Older kids can buy what they want with their money. But on the couch, Mary shares that it is her child that is more involved with the church, presumably than the other children, based off of how she says it. And I literally am only bringing this up because Cody looks so utterly stunned by this revelation. Like, he had no idea. And Robin is staring down the lens of the camera, looking so angry. Like, she's about to roll her eyes so hard they're going to get stuck. And I don't know why Robin seems so angry, but the look on her face is super intense. But Cody gets to the big house, and it's clear that he still hasn't bothered to call Mary because she's like, wait a minute, Christine says we're leaving on Tuesday? And so the question does come out a little bit whiny. I'll admit it, but it would have helped Cody to just call and explain to her what was going on, since literally everyone else knew. And I see this a lot where it feels like someone gets left in the dark in the family. And Cody's like, listen, Tuesday morning, as early as we can stand to, that's what we're doing. And he's like, we just need to take the essentials like we're going on vacation. And then Christine starts listing all the things that Cody wants to take, like all of the beds, which are not vacation essentials. And listen, she's right. The trailer is not big enough for all of that. Nor do you need to take them until someone has a house that can use them. Christine's like, I pared down my things into ones and twos based on like priority. What needs to go now, what doesn't. And Mary's like, whoa, I'm stunned. I'm taking like nothing. She's taking clothing and what she'll need for a month in this vacation rental. That's about it. Because the home is fully furnished. So, nothing is priority when there's nowhere for it to go. I'm with Mary. And Cody's like, even the essentials are more than what we have space for. That is not true. Clothes, toiletries, medication, some toys for the kids. That's it. You have room to haul that. And if any of the kids have any type of special needs, whether it's like a special pillow that they need or this or that other thing, take that with you. But even toiletries is sort of iffy because I know there's a Walmart in Vegas. Like, Walmarts exist there. And all of that could fit in that trailer, frankly. Frankly, it could fit in the trunk of the cars. Robin's stuff it could stay at the big house, potentially, until you can come back for it when you get when you come for everyone's things or whoever gets a house. This move is a disaster. And I understand wanting to take some of it with you, especially since we're going to come to see where they're like, we decided Robin should get the first house. So, okay, maybe that. But still, this is chaos. And Cody's like, I need to talk to Janelle about getting something bigger. And she is against it. She is worried that getting another trailer is going to draw attention to themselves. Who cares? Honestly, you're already going to be chaotically loading that first trailer. So having a second one isn't going to draw that much more attention. Sorry. But Janelle shares her thoughts about leaving a day later. And she's like, I want to say, okay, fine, I'll meet you there. You leave when you want to leave. I'm going. But Janelle, where are you going to go? This house isn't available until Tuesday. So she shares their relationship is struggling at the moment. And she's so opinionated that we need to move now. And Cody's more laissez-faire, take it as it comes. And she's afraid. And Cody lays down the hammer finally. Is like, I need another trailer or a truck. And Janelle's like, this is going to look very obviously like we're moving. And she tries to offer the suggestion, listen, we take bunk beds, we take clothes, we take dishes. The dishes can stay. Fully furnished house. Or, I hate to say it, get some paper plates. But Cody goes to Christine and starts shouting about how things are going great until he talks to her sister wife. And she's like, your wife? And he's like, nope, right now she's your sister wife. He is so angry that things are not going his way. And he's like, listen, the sheriff is double tapping his brakes near our home. And it's not because the dogs are in the road. It's because he's out to get us in Janelle's mind. Listen, it sounds like an exaggeration to me. Maybe it isn't. Maybe that is happening. But Cody's like, everything is so overblown in everyone's head. And then we get Mary telling him, listen, I think we should leave tomorrow, like the original plan. His response to that is, Robin doesn't. Why is that relevant? I'm sorry. Why is it even relevant? The answer is, where would we stay, Mary? Not, oh, Robin doesn't. Don't bring up Robin and throw that in her face, because she's going to be justified when she throws things back into your face in a couple minutes. But he's like, listen, we are going to be on the road from anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. Wishful thinking, sir. So anyone who wants to stop us has ample time to do so. And he's not wrong. They do. They absolutely do. But he tells Mary that unless he gets a vibe they need to leave Monday, Tuesday it is. And she calls him out and she's like, oh, because you and Robin decided that while you were over there? Okay, I know a lot of people hinge on this line, but let's be serious. The rental was not available until Tuesday afternoon. Mentally, I feel like I'm doing gymnastics to try and keep up because, guys, you don't have anywhere to go. So, Janelle's like, whether the fear is real or not, whether it's rational or not, she's afraid. And of course, Maddie runs in at this moment. He's like, a crop drove by, blah. And Christine uses this time to say that the decisions are being made in fear, which of course was her greatest concern for why they shouldn't move before, but I don't know. Cody puts his foot down and is like, Tuesday. We are leaving Tuesday. And he shuts Janelle down when she argues that when she's trying to argue with him, that there are 300 miles between him and freedom, and he's not hiding anyway. So last minute packing is definitely taking effect, and they do break for the birthday party at Robin's house. It's a small affair, but they're happy. Everybody seems really happy about it. So Cody's like, when you leave a place you love, there's this deep connection, and saying goodbye is never easy. He knows there's going to be tears, there's going to be emotions, and he's not wrong. The stress is palpable. The kids are running around, jamming things in boxes, trying to get important stuff loaded. Christine shares the press found out. Specifically, she says TMZ. She starts to explain, and then she's like, whatever, we're moving. So now the move on Monday is back on because they want to get out before any more press shows up. And she says that they're not doing any of the cleaning that they had intended to do, but there's family in the area who's going to come in, take care of things for them, whatever they need to do. And she and Chanel make a plan for loading the trailer, and they set kids to the trailer. They sent them in there, and they're like, go. We need to start doing this. Stress is heightened, and things are getting definitely very aggressive about who has too many boxes and what needs to go back into the house. It's a little over the top, but Cody says the house is just being left and they're having family watch over it. But Robin's house has to be emptied because it's a rental. So we get to Robin's, and she is packing up the roses from her wedding bouquet, and she has them she's had them hanging up for quite some time. And she says, this is not the America I learned about in school. And I am at minimum 10 years younger than Robin. I'm not 100% sure. I'm 35. I think she's slightly older than me, or slightly older than that, but our education probably does vary just a little bit. I mean, a decade gap, that's a pretty decent gap. But what exactly did you learn in school, Robs? That the country has no laws and that you're never going to be held responsible for what you do if you break them? Because I learned a decent amount about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Listen, I've learned way more on my own outside of school, but I learned enough. So I decided that I was going to go look. Why is polygamy not covered under the First Amendment, right? Because that's what everybody cites, that Congress shall make no law establishing a state religion, nor the free expression of religion, right? So this is what I found. The idea that polygamy would be covered by the First Amendment was dissolved in 1879 with Reynolds versus the United States, where the United States Supreme Court ruled unanimously that a federal law prohibiting polygamy did not violate the free exercise clause of the First Amendment. The court's decision was among the first to hold that the free exercise of religion is not absolute, according to the first article I read. So the court held that while Congress could not outlaw the belief in the correctness of polygamy, they could not tell you were not allowed to believe that. It could outlaw the practice. Now, I did not learn that at school, but Google and a little bit of research on the topic does wonders. So essentially, what they determined was that Congress has no right to make a law determining what you are and are not allowed to believe. You may believe whatever you choose to believe, but that does not mean that every practice is going to be held in the same regard. So, second trailer goes to Robin's, and of course there is a mess because the trailer and the truck are parked incorrectly. Something's happened. Something's locked. I don't know. Cody took the keys. So there's chaos. I paused for a moment because there's a man with them helping who at first glance, I swear I thought it was Brady Williams. You know, from My Five Wives. I'm not entirely convinced it wasn't. Probably isn't, but I'm not entirely convinced. So this is where we get the famous Janelle line, "It is brain damage to move this group. It frustrates me." Yeah, it's frustrating. And so they send the very upset Janelle to go and fetch the keys from Cody. Perfect. So she tells producers they should be done. There's stuff, there's space, get it in the damn car. And I feels like hearing my own parents frustrated with us kids back in the day, honestly. I don't know if they ever said that line, but fairly close, I'm sure. And Cody said this is one of the most emotionally packed experiences the family's ever had. And suddenly the overdramatic freak out about the siren. There is no way this was not a fire truck siren. That's not a police siren. It doesn't sound like a police siren, but Cody insists it is. He's like, "That's the police siren, blah, blah, blah." So he gathers everyone for prayer, and then he's like, "Listen, we're going to get in the cars after and go." And he's like, "We're going to drive until our navels are scratching our backbones," which is the strangest sentence I've ever had to say, I think. That was a weird one. But he says they're under duress, and he wants to bring the family together and ask God for the peace to accomplish the trip. Most people who believe would want to stop and pray when something like this is going on, sure. But they gather, and it does not look like everyone in the circle I could be wrong, but like the shot does not give me everyone in the circle, right? Um, and then when they do leave, it is very, very dark. So it doesn't seem like they stopped, prayed, and then immediately left. There was obviously stuff to still do. Christine says that the thought came to her that the reason they're doing this is so the kids wouldn't have to live in fear, like being open about polygamy. And if they stay, they get broken up and raise their kids in fear. A, there is nothing saying you get broken up. B, none of your kids have an interest in polygamy. Your grandbabies are fine. You know that now, but I'm just saying. So Robin's like, I think we were naive. And Mary's like, no, we just had anticipated things to change. And of course, Cody and Janelle are like, things have changed, that we're much more openly embraced than we were before. Ah, you remember that time when the Browns were openly embraced? But Christine points out the people changed. The laws have not. So we get this montage of empty rooms and messy rooms, and they're off. But in true Brown fashion, we do not get very far. 11, 12 miles or so. And then Robin is calling because she's driving Cody's car, and a light pops up. And she's like, the tire has come off the rim. How? Like, I'm not even joking. How? I don't understand how. How does that happen? Like, seriously, I've popped a tire before, but I have never had the tire just, like, fall off the rim. Was it because she was driving on the flat? I genuinely don't know. But Cody is trying to get this tire off and find a tire. Because they say it's Martin Luther King Day, and a lot of places are closed. But of course, this is the worst thing to ever happen because Robin had the kids with her. And of course, they got transferred to Janelle's car. And then I'm not entirely sure why they took them to wherever Mary, Janelle, and Christine are. I don't know if it was just extra eyes on them, what the story was. But Cody says they finally end up at a department store. It's a Walmart. Just say it's a Walmart. Listen, I don't know if anybody else gets super annoyed how the TLC personalities do that, where they don't say, what things are, or they say social media instead of naming a platform. It drives me nuts. I get it. It's because you don't want to give free advertisement to anybody or whatever, but it drives me bonkers. But they don't have the correct size tires. So Cody's like, nah, this is going to work. So he gets the wrong size tires, and then it takes 2 hours because they had to replace the other one since they got the wrong size. And then they go not even a mile, and the van gets a flat. And Christine's like, Cody's getting super angry. And he's like, of course I was angry. The store already closed. There was nowhere else to get a tire. It's been 3 hours. We've gone 25 miles. And once again, everybody's got to pull over. And Robin gets super sarcastic and says to Mary, Mary, we said a prayer before we left, right? Okay, well, now I know why it is that she said before she pays for those kinds of thoughts and gets humbled. Because that is not a great attitude to take about prayer. God isn't a wishing well. You don't throw a coin in and make a wish. But the fact that she said that and then has the stones to say this is good for our faith when you just got sarcastic about prayer, I would not want to be standing next to her. Just saying. So Cody's getting creative because the spare in the van is a baby spare, or a donut, some people call it. Basically, it's one of those ones that's not a full spare and you can't really go very far or very fast on it. But the spare in Janelle's car is a full spare and has the same lug system. That is not how it works. But he's going to do it anyway. So it was an awful idea. They put it on, not working. So they try to get it back off. All the lug nuts break off. And he's like, I'm beginning to think that this is a sign that we shouldn't go. But ultimately, the 20 miles they've gone have been too hard earned. So they're not giving up. And I have to ask what it is that Robin does to these cars. Because the Suburban broke down while she was driving it. She was driving Cody's car. And that van is Robin's. Like, that's Robin's van. So what in the world is it she's doing to these things to make them give up all the time? Like, I don't get it. And Cody tells us angrily that he would need an audible voice from God to stop. Not just a feeling, not just a vibe. So basically, he just wants God to come down from the heavens and scream in his face. So they reserve a room and they end up staying that overnight anyway. And so we should have left on Tuesday when things would have been open. The next morning, they get new tires, they're headed out again, and Cody says they travel another 200 miles and get another flat tire. So everybody's on the side of the road, and when a state trooper pulls up behind them, and I am laughing at this point, because I'm watching, and they're next to a road sign, and what does it say? What does the road sign say? Anybody want to take a guess? Pause now, put your guess in the comments. It's great. It says Parowan, 15 miles. You cannot write this kind of stuff. 15 miles to Parowan. Should have just left Mary there, I guess. Anyway, the trooper just wanted to make sure that they were safe and keeping the kids off the road, which sounds sort of like your kids are in the road. Like, why are your children out of the cars and in the road? But it's dark after the tire gets put on, and Cody is gathering everyone again. But he's like, where's Christine? And on the couch, she's like, it has been 24 hours. We've gone 200 miles. And we're showing an argument between Cody and Christine. And she's like, everything on this trip I have wanted or pushed for and nothing. And he sort of yells at her as like, sweetie, we tried. We tried hard. And I want to know what it was that she was asking for or pushing for, because she admits she broke down at this point. The kids were upset. She had spent all of this time with these children. They're tired. They're hungry. And she knows Cody wants to keep going, but these kids need to eat. And he's like, nope, we are only 60 miles from the border. We are pushing through. We are going now, which is unfair. The kids do need to eat. You have been on the road for 24 hours. Feed your kids. I'm not saying they didn't feed them at all in that time. I'm just pointing out. So Mary's in the truck. Ooh, pardon me. And she's like, it's quiet in there. And she came over the hill and she saw the lights and thought, this is home now. And the kids are looking for that state border sign and getting super excited. So Cody asks Mary, did it make you happy? And she says, yeah. But Cody says that Vegas is a safe place for religious tolerance and freedom. So I went to go look it up. And the first thing that popped up as I started researching to find out, is Vegas really well known for being religious, was from 2011, which is around the time the Browns would have moved. I think that the article was from March of 2011. And so it says, specifically, some surveys over the years have even included Las Vegas among the list of cities with the most churches per capita. A recent internet search revealed listings for more than 500 churches in the city. So, Sin City is apparently full of churches. Like, I didn't realize. I won't say that that makes them specifically tolerant, but it is more religious than you would have thought, I suppose. And he says that they get into Vegas and they get to the rental, and he's not settled because he knows they still have a lot to do, but he was glad to be there. And they sign some paperwork with Mona, and Cody says that he almost doesn't care because it's just sort of a peaceful feeling just being there. And Mary's like, we've ended our chapter in Utah, and now we can look toward a new chapter and where it's going to take us. And so Cody pulls a Garrick Merrifield and says, a long, long time ago, he looked up at God and said, have you got my back? And in this true drama flair fashion of Cody, he says, on my 43rd birthday, he says, yep, I do. And of course, as the episode comes to a close, we have to get another moment of focusing on the kids' displeasure. So the cameraman says to Maddie, and she is very frazzled. Like, you can see it in her face. She's done. She's just done. And he's like, what's wrong? And she says, really? I hate it here. I want to go home. And we get a montage of upset kids and an absolutely, utterly exhausted Logan. And this just breaks my heart to see all of it. So this episode has had a lot of dramatics and there's a lot of things, and I don't like it. I've never liked it. I don't like showing the kids in that level of distress. I don't like showing them in that level of chaos. I don't like showing them being afraid of the police. I don't like any of that. It's not good. It's not healthy. None of that is good and healthy. And this episode has always bothered me. And I don't remember, looking back, I remember having a lot of empathy for them moving, but I don't remember if I ever really thought that it was all super real. It just kind of felt like wild and crazy. But here we are. We've hit on this. And like I said before, I know that I jumped around. I cut out certain things, but there are kids who have chosen to remain really, really private. And so for that, I'm going to kind of pull back a little bit and try not to talk about those kids super specifically unless it's super relevant to the episode. I don't mind focusing on the kids who've become public figures, or, focusing on moments that are, like, important, or if those kids still show up on the show, that's a little bit different. But for those who have chosen to be very, very private, I would prefer to let them have their privacy. So that's all I have for this one. We're going to keep trucking along, because I think from here on out, they're all pretty much hour-long episodes. So we're going to get the longer videos again. I don't know if you can hear Graham snoring in the distance, but he is zonked out. This dog he's done. He's tired. He would like Mama to be done and go to bed, please. I don't blame him, because it is now 12 o'clock in the morning as I'm filming this, and I should probably get some sleep too. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.